Hey everybody, Joel Geyer here with Badger Beer Report, and I am back for another podcast episode talking with someone in the Wisconsin craft beer industry. And today I am talking with someone I have known for, has it been almost a decade? I was gonna say it feels like it dang near. Since I got to first meet up with Tim Pauly at Broken Bat Brewing Company. So, Tim, let's go ahead and start first with kind of your background and, what kind of got you to the point of starting Broken Bat Brewery.
Yeah. First of all, thanks for having me, Joe. I appreciate you. So I'm born and raised here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I went to grade school, high school, college right here in the city. Jumped into corporate life, supply chain right after school. Started doing okay in that life, but like every promotion, I just started to hate it a little bit more. I always had a little bit of an entrepreneurial spirit. I was selling baseball cards on my curb growing up and water bottles outside of the state fair to make a couple bucks. And honestly, it was that early 2010s when the rumblings of the craft beer boom were starting to get going in the Midwest. Buddy of mine and I, we were like, let's open a craft brewery. And he was really into brewing. I was more into like baseball and ops and business. We really took two passions and sort of put a concept together. It took about four or 5 years after the idea was really born for us to open. But wrote a little business plan, found a really cool little location in Milwaukee's third ward, which is sort of a little bit more of a higher end kind of fashion, small boutique restaurant area. We just got very lucky with a basement below ground unit and put a little 2,000 square foot brewery down there in April of 2017. We have 4 beers on tap, and the rest is history. So I've been rocking.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, because you brought up that, your passion with baseball, because that was going to be my next thing is that you guys opened out of the gate and it was very, a very strong focus on baseball. I remember the baseball card wall and, the beer names and the branding of everything. I remember, coming in right out of the bat, and that was, your focus. Mm-hmm. You said that, you had this passion and, you were essentially combining them. Was that something right from the get-go that you were like, this is what we want our brewery to be? We want this to be baseball?
We had kicked around a couple of other brewery names. Like a lot of folks, I think that the easy part is coming up with the name of a brewing company that they would open someday. So we had a couple of
I may have done that a couple times too, hand up.
Yeah,
even though I wasn't ever going to. I've had some names, it floated around in my head before. So I totally get that.
I think you're on a very well populated list. But we had a couple written down. There was a different name that we kind of started with, but my mind immediately went to, okay, like who are we marketing this to? How is this different from the 1,000 other breweries that kind of had the earthy outdoor vibes? And honestly, I wouldn't have given a shit about it. I just wouldn't have cared about it. So my whole pitch to the people that I was starting with was, I love baseball. I'm a Brewers fan at heart, but I just love the game. I like, I'll watch Little League baseball. I've watched the old timers play. I like being around the game. And I think I can build a brand around this because there's a ton of slang around it. There's like inside knowledge of stuff that only happens in the clubhouse or you hear in the bleachers or just a lot of things we could market around baseball and beer. And Milwaukee's a amazing baseball town.
It is.
If the Brewers are even decent, it's a great baseball town. So that was my pitch, was Milwaukee baseball beer. And, there wasn't much by way of truly like themed breweries at the time. There was a lot of like music and earth and art and spaces, which isn't a problem. They're working, but our niche was going to be baseball and be damned if it was anything else, man. So it was that from day one.
In my book, I even write about that. I love when a brewery has like a strong theme, one that either ties it to the locally or like with you, like with baseball. And I think I say in the book that everyone's going to have different favorites. Like obviously as a sports fan myself, going to a brewery like this that was, baseball or a sports theme was something that immediately caught my eye. And, I remember following you in those early years, and you definitely had some, we could say, interesting events take place. So what were those early years like in that basement location for Broken Bat?
Yeah, we were just kind of throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what would stick, to be honest with you. we started doing some fundraiser stuff, but with some brands that we didn't necessarily align with that weren't, great. We tried to reach out for a couple collaborations that just, not that they were terrible or anything, but the kind of the first little break from a collaboration standpoint that we got was Tim Dillard, who was a former Milwaukee brewer. He kind of became like a Twitter star. He was very big in posting goofy videos, more of a minor league, like a 4A player, but he just loves Milwaukee, loves the Brewers. And he came down to the tap room one night. I was like, hey, would you guys ever want to like collaborate on something? And I was like, a year into business, like, absolutely, we want to collaborate with you. So that went really well. We actually ended up doing a couple of different beer series with him over the years. And yeah, that was sort of our first like little break in terms of people we'd heard of were coming down to see us. Eric Dames would come down all the time. I don't know if you remember the big thumper. He used to live in the Third Ward. He would come down Sundays, and we'd kind of stay up and late with him and talk like super corny, like video games and anime and like heavy metal music and stuff. So Eric was a great dude, but it was more of a proof of concept like type of space. So we wanted to make sure that what we were doing was potentially going to work on a larger scale if we ever got the opportunity. And admittedly, in the first couple of years, that was when Milwaukee was really rocking like craft beer. I would say you probably know better than I would, but it felt like a new one was opening every like month and a half, 2 months. Like it was like January.
There was a big explosion there, kind of that middle part into like, the whatever 2014 to 2017, 18.
Yeah.
That was where we really saw that big expansion locally here.
Yep. And we were right in the thick of that. So and it was when people were still working, offices were full, apartments were full, all that stuff. So yeah, we were doing really well. We caught another cool collab, or not a collab, but we were invited to come down and serve beer in Wrigley down in Chicago. So went through all that, the hoops to get through that in 2018 and 19. And then honestly, the expansion was starting, and we had our big grand opening scheduled for April 2nd of 2020. And then, the world shut down.
Listen, you are not the first brewery that I've talked to about the timing of opening and things shifting around, and then all of a sudden being sent home and all that. But speaking of this big location, you guys have an awesome space now.
Thank you.
At what point was there a decision like, okay, we need to move to a bigger, we need to expand, and what was that process look like for you when you were looking for one? Like, as for people that are on Patreon and watching the video, I have the green screen right now of your indoor wiffle ball field, which we will talk about more, I'm sure, later. And I'm also wearing a Broken Bat Wiffle Ball Company.
My man, I was gonna say, I see that.
So I've got it all here decked out. Were you looking for a wiffle ball field, or a space for a wiffle ball field is essentially kind of what it's all going to come boiling down to? But what was that process like for you?
First of all, hand to God, yes. It was like the first thing I was looking for was like, can I fit a field
I
in
love
here?
That. Yeah.
And second of all, there was a couple of things we needed to happen. We wanted it to be like on the brink of condemnation. So we wanted it to be like fairly run down. We were looking for something cheap. Like sometimes say like buy the cheapest house in the nicest neighborhood kind of thing.
Yep.
So we wanted something we could kind of like mold into our own. Thankfully, we were catching a neighborhood about a year early from before like the big real estate boom. There were some environmental issues in the building. So thankfully, I think the previous owners were just annoyed with it enough to like, all right, you deal with it. And thankfully we did. But no, we just got to a point where if we were hoping to distribute and get beer out, we were getting a lot of requests for like rehearsal dinners, small weddings, like nothing major, but 100-person weddings. We could not physically do it at our other location. We were getting corporate requests for like happy hours, like shut the place down. So we just knew that thankfully there were enough people that were at least aware of us, that had a good time coming to the tap room, that if we could sort of take what we were doing and just make it bigger and scale it, that it would work. So yeah, we kept a pretty tight bubble from where we were looking. Like I said, Milwaukee's home, so we were not looking to go out in the suburbs or anything like that. And
you have to drive the moving truck too far.
That's a big piece of it, man. That we were literally rolling stuff down the sidewalk. So
you basically just had to hop over the river. I don't know exactly how many blocks that would have been, but it's definitely within
like 4
walking distance, I would say.
Yeah. It's like 4 big city blocks, and you're there. So, Yeah, but no, we were rocking, man. I mean, it was all things were good. Construction was on time, budget was on time. You had the new brewing system in place, ready to go for the spring of 20. And then we had a big closing celebration scheduled for the old place and a big grand opening at the new place. And we went 0 for 2 on those celebrations. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, and I know the brewery that
but
was replacing you there, Wizard Works, got bumped back too, because they were in the same boat
thing.
trying to open up, you know, in that early. They were actually the very first new brewery I ever visited post-COVID.
Nice.
That was the very first one that I ever went to, was the Wizard Works in their old location there. But yeah, so you were searching, like you said, for this wiffle ball field, because if people maybe there are probably people out there that may have been to Broken Bat and don't realize that you do have this entire indoor wiffle ball field that hosts a variety of tournaments, and I know you can rent it out and do all sorts of events. Mm-hmm. So you obviously found this space that you knew would work. How did you get that vision to come to fruition, and how popular has it been through the years? Because I'm sure initially, people were just like, oh my gosh, it was like a mad rush. Yeah. But even now, I feel like it's a very popular destination for people.
Yeah, it was when we walked into this building. I kid you not. So it was boarded up windows. You could not see in from the outside. The garage doors were dusted over. You couldn't see in. And when the real estate agent let me in the first time, and it was just a wide open, untouched, very dirty, but untouched warehouse, I was like, say no more, man. This is what I've been looking for.
This is where home plate's going.
Yeah, this is where it's gonna go. This is the wall. It was very, very quick. I mean, obviously we had to do our due diligence and whatnot, but we cleaned it up. And honestly, I found a turf supplier down in Georgia that was very cheap, and they wouldn't do anything on the install side, but they're like, we'll send it to you. It's good stuff. I installed it with some buddies. We put the walls up. We got a nice scoreboard, electronic scoreboard. We got speakers out there. We keep adding little things here and there. Mm-hmm. So, it was the reason, not to sound dramatic, but it was the reason we got through the pandemic. We had leagues in the late 2020, with all the masks and the spray and sanitizer and whatever. Yeah. But we could have garage doors open. Everybody was 6 feet apart, all that crazy stuff. We've been running leagues off of it since 2020. We've been renting it out every day of the week that we don't have somebody playing in a league. Corporate parties, rehearsal dinners, bachelor parties. I mean, you name it, man. We've had the police department. We've had high-powered attorneys out there. We've had, you name it. It's everybody because you can't take it seriously. It's wiffle ball.
Yeah. You can't.
Can't take wiffle ball seriously. We've had
if you do, then you got to chill out a little bit.
Right.
Some of those TikTok leagues, those guys are a little over the edge on that. We just want to hang out and get a play with some buddies and whatnot. So I mean, it is really, really cool, and obviously it's something that has remained to be a very popular staple of your brand, and been part of that growth. And now, so one other thing that I noticed, talking about your tap room and everything, you are across a block, kind of kitty corner from the Bobblehead Hall of Fame, which to me is one of the most underrated hidden gems that you can find in Milwaukee. It is. I took my parents there for the first time, and they were just blown away by it, because I feel like even if you're not a sports fan, it's just so cool to see. And there's more than just sports bobbleheads too. And you guys, I think you guys had a bunch of bobbleheads displayed at one point with the partnership and everything. I believe you kind of had with them. What was that relationship kind of like? Is that kind of just like a dumb luck circumstance almost that you guys ended up next to each other?
Yeah. Phil, the owner of the Bobblehead Hall of Fame Museum, when he heard that we were moving into that space back in 2019, he just emailed me and was like, "Hey Tim, this is amazing. We've been looking for somebody to fill that space. Come on by. I'll show you the space. Let's be pals." And we just hit it off, because I'm nowhere near the collector he is. Just to be,
you can't be near the collector he is.
You cannot be. I love bobbleheads. So I've got the 4 Derek Turnbows that I somehow ended up with back in the day with the real hair, and I've had Brewers bobbleheads since I was a kid. I got some old Packer ones. So anyway, we just hit it off. And when I started telling him about it's baseball, it's a brewery tap room, he was like, "Oh, anything you need, I'll put up cases. You just let me know what you want, blah, blah, blah." And he's given us some really cool ones to put on display. Bunch of World Series ones, the women's professional baseball league. He's got all the old from the 50s.
Well, I know that they've got like an entire warehouse of just storage, basically, for these things.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just crazy that what you see is only like a percentage of what they even have.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely like 5% of what he's got.
Yeah, because they've got some crazy, crazy stuff that you just didn't even know could be a bobblehead.
Yeah, but we always send people their way, and they are very kind, and they're always like, "Oh, you got to go check out Broken Bat," and we do the exact same thing. So, yeah, a lot of synergy across the street with us. But Phil is amazing, and his team is great. So,
well, I mean, it really was. I mean, it was like the match made in heaven in a lot of ways, because I talk about, you know, the early days at your other location and walking in, and you already got that baseball vibe that you guys were able to do. And you were essentially able to amp that up exponentially at this other location with, you know, things like the wiffle ball field and this kind of the sports bar vibe that we'll talk about later. And obviously with the bobbleheads too. And, you know, we're what, 16 minutes in here, and we haven't actually talked about the beer itself, which is what you're supposed, you know, that's what you're supposed to do. You know, and so let's just start kind of broad, first of all, and kind of just talk about how you feel the beer kind of changed from early on, you know, up until today. Because I know before we started recording, I mentioned that I was there on that very second weekend that you guys were open, and Straight Shed was one of the beers that I had on my flight, and I believe I had that score. Like, that was like my favorite one of the four that I tried, and that is still one of the beers that you can often find. Like, that is still, you know, one of the beers that you guys will serve. So some of those beers obviously have survived, but your brand of beer has obviously fully evolved and changed, you know, over this past decade. Yeah,
for sure. So, I mean, the guy that I started with, he was definitely the brewer back in the day. Early on, like in those mid 2010s, the beer just didn't have to carry the business. Which that's not good or bad. It just, that was kind of the case. You could have a bunch of IPAs on, you could have a stout, maybe a sour, maybe a light beer, and you were probably going to be fine. That just started to change as competition started to get better and the amount of breweries started to grow. It got more competitive, and people were starting to be more selective with, you know, a more expensive premium product. And yeah, I mean, there was a point in time in probably like 2020, 2021 where like I wasn't proud of our beer. It wasn't up to par. I knew that it was a difficult stretch of being in business, to be honest with you. I used to shy away from it, but look, that's life, man. Like, we were not perfect. And a couple of changes had to get made. And we had a new head brewer start in early 2022, and he was very much a step up from there. But again, brewing is not all glitz and glamour too. I think a lot of people think like, oh, you just sit there and
drink beer for a living.
Drink beer all day. It's like, dude, man, like those guys are working like dogs.
It's a scientific job and a cleaning job, like all in one.
Exactly. You're like a janitor in a weight room and a scientist in a science
organic chemist.
and it's usually not temp controlled, like, you know, so it's tough work, man. And I think, you know, just he kind of got tired with it. I took a little bit of a sabbatical in terms of we had enough beer to last us for a couple of months. And then in early 2024, we started the hiring process again. I probably interviewed like 60, 70 people. We had some really, really quality candidates, but we ended up with Nick Guthrie out of Lakefront and Third Space for about 7 years before that. And Nick, I mean, he took it from like, okay, this stuff is all right, to now our beer is as good from a quality and consistency and flavor standpoint as A, it's ever been, and B, honestly, anybody in the city right now. So I'm super proud of what Nick did. He came in and just basically tore our operations down. I gave him the keys to the castle. I said, look, man, like, you're the pro back there. We need some help. The brand is what it is. It's planted in the dirt, but the beer needs some love. And it was not time to mess around. And we we're very, very thankful to have Nick pop on board in 24.
Well, and it also feels like that, you know, you've had these core brands that I'm sure have gone through recipe tweaks and all that kind of, you know, stuff that throughout time, and you've had seasonals kind of come and go. But one thing I've also noticed is that you guys also seem to start doing a lot more kind of specialty, like one-off and like different types of series. I know you have the record breaker? Well, what's the record?
Yeah,
series
the record book. Yeah, the record book beer
because
series.
that was kind of fun how you guys kind of came up with that.
Yeah. So again, like not to go too far into the past, but we had some really cool brands, right? Where the branding and the concept.
I've always loved your can art and like your artwork.
Like it was really cool. But then if the beer sucks, like you get one shot.
Yeah.
Right? Like you kind of and that's how it should be. So you get one shot at like a cool idea or a cool concept, and if it sucks, you kind of got to throw it to the curb. So admittedly, we had a couple of like tandem barrel aged projects that I thought they were awesome, but if the beer doesn't turn out well and some of the feedback is bad, we kind of kicked that all to the curb. So Nick and I sat down, and he's very, very good, very technical when it comes to barrel aging. And he was like, well, I want to try, rum barrel age this and gin barrel age that, and, wine barrel age this and bourbon that. So we came up with this idea of a record book beer series where every beer is just going to be named a number, and it's going to be a record that we think is damn near untouchable at the major league level. And then we write a little blurb on it. We do some colors around it, and that's our record book beer series. So it's been a ton of fun. Nick, everyone that's come out has been killer. But we just had to again tweak the narrative around the beer, because this is not the time to be messing around with, the beer doesn't have to be great or be good. Like, yes, it does.
We've talked at length about that on Badger Beer Report, that the days of you and a couple homebrewing buddies being able to shack up in a industrial warehouse on the edge of town and being able to whip together a 6 to 8 tap list and just calling it a business. Those days are have sailed at this point. And one thing I was going to say that I loved about your record series is that it's both obviously allowing you to step outside of maybe what normally would be on tap, but you're also able to provide some baseball history lessons without it just being like, we have some plaques up on the wall. Like it allows you to do these kind of like little history blurbs that tie into your theme so well. And that is one thing that I've always, really admired about you guys, is how you've been able to do all of that. And now, specifically talking now, if someone does come in today or, this weekend, whatever, to Broken Bat, I know you guys are setting your anniversary, so you do have, you had some fun stuff with, releases, but in terms of an everyday appearance, what would be what would be 1 or 2 beers that you would recommend to someone coming into Broken Bat for maybe the first time?
It's light right now, man. Like the ability that Nick has, again, from a technical brewing standpoint, where you cannot hide behind anything in the Pilsner lager. You can't hide behind triple hops this and donut pastry that. So we have a bunch of light beers right now that are just killer, and they are spot on from what they say they are. They're spot on from a consistency standpoint. It's the same now as it was a year ago, and it's the same as it's going to be in 4 months from now. But we have a beer called On an Island, which is literally a Caribbean style lager that's just killer. It was brewed after a beer out of Venezuela. So very close to a beer that we've had down there. And then we have an American lager called Beer Here, which is just, it's $5 every day that the brewers play. So anybody whining about craft beer being too expensive, I don't want to hear it, because 162 days a year, it's $5 pints at Broken Bat. And then we've also got just a 6%, very, very classic IPA called Pick and Dandelions. Use a lot of Mosaic, a little Citra, kind of your classic IPA hops, but they're just classically good craft beers, which I know sounds a little corny, but we're not trying to reinvent the wheel anymore. I think that's something that craft beer got a little caught up in, is like, what's the next like random shit on a Walmart shelf we can throw in a beer,
I'm going to a Joint Fest on Saturday. And by the time people are listening to this, it will have already passed. But they've got the alcoholic cereal milk or whatever.
Okay, so that's kind of cool. Like, I'll give it. Max and those guys, they can come up with whatever the hell they want.
For Joint Fest, and I know it's not leaving Joint Fest, is what I've heard. Is that is not going to be available anywhere else. So for something like that, I'm fully in on it. But yeah, I fully agree.
I love that. That's just crazy enough that I'm in on it. But we just kind of dialed it back, and like, it just comes down, you gotta have really good quality and consistent beer, and that's where we're at right now. And the light stuff is really what people are gravitating towards. People are They want lighter ABV. They want cheaper price. They want to have a couple. They don't want to have, 9% triples on tap. They want to have 4 lagers to pick from for a flight. So
yeah, preaching to the choir over here. And that, and I think I wrote this, again, like I've told people this, numerous times, is that for me, the best way to find out if a brewery knows what they're doing is trying their light lager.
Yes.
Because like you just said, you're not hiding flaws in something like that, and in other styles that you may be able to get away with. So I fully agree. And I mentioned Straight Ched, and I know that there's a handful of other flagships that have kind of been with you throughout the entire time. Is there one of your flagships that has particularly meant a lot to you? Considering the time when you Broken Bat.
Beach Ball is probably the other one that stands out. So that's our pineapple. It's a milkshake. It's just got a little bit of lactose. It's a pineapple IPA, more or less. It's gone through some different iterations, some recipe tweaks, but just from a brand, it's always caught my eye. It was one of the first ones that people would like write on, in blogs, like, oh, this is really good. Even when we were going through some of our struggles with brewing, like for some reason that was like the one beacon of light in the storm that would kind of withhold the test of time. But yeah, that's kind of the one that's just stayed close, near and dear to my heart. It's very good. I still love it to death. I'd probably still pick a light lager over it if I had to, but it's been there since early 2018. It's never left tap. It's never left cans. And yeah, people really still dig it. Like, it's still in our top 3 or 4 every year out of the tap, out of the cans. And yeah, we're just very proud of where it's landed these days and still going strong.
Do you have any of, not necessarily from the Record Breaker stuff or anything, but do you have, or the Record Book series, do you have any other like one-off or seasonal beers that you may have only brewed a handful of times that you personally like really had that soft spot for, that you loved, but that maybe just hasn't been able to come back in one facet or another?
Honestly, the first one that immediately pops into my head was we had a beer called Can of Corn.
I honest to God remember that.
Yeah, so we brewed that with the physical beer was harvested, or the corn was harvested from left field of the Field of Dreams movie site.
Yeah.
And I met a guy through a friend of a friend who knew the farmer who could get us there, and hand to God, I drove out to Dyersville, Iowa. I pulled into a farm. I thought it was kind of like a little like, am I supposed to be here? A bunch of guys came out with a bunch of bushels of corn. They were super nice. We brought it back. We dried it out. We milled it. We brewed a really cool beer with it. It was available just outside of the stadium for that first Field of Dreams game, the White Sox Yankees one. So I was out there for that. But yeah, the following year we were not able to get it because a big distillery out of Boston bought the entire field of corn. I know.
That's good. Of course, it's freaking Boston.
Private equity bought the whole goddamn field. It was so.
If I didn't already not like Celtic and Patriots fans enough,
Yeah, right.
We can blame the whole city for that.
But man, that was like, and I've got pictures from out there that we had little certificates of authenticity. Like, nobody could be like, oh, that's not the corn from there. And I was like, yes, it was, man. I was standing there when they were milling it. So that was really cool. We've had some fun barrel aged stuff. We did a Malort. We were talking before.
Yeah.
We did the Malort barrel aged beers last year. The light lager in the Malort barrels was crazy.
It's like, I was gonna say, for Milwaukee, that was one of those things. It's like, well, what the heck is going on here? We got a Milwaukee. There's gonna be Malort here because, like you said, there was some copycats down in Chicago. But the fact that you guys did not one, you did 2 Malort beers.
Yeah, we did one where we tried to make it like kind of a signature Malort cocktail, so that we added like blueberry honey, a little bit of simple syrup, like just sweetened it up a little bit, because that was like a classic Malort cocktail, and then we named it 163 after the time we beat the Cubs to go to the playoffs in 18 with Keon Broxton catching that fly ball.
Yep.
But yeah, just the straight barrel-aged Malort beer, that was the fastest sellout. Like, we're not a big brewery on like line up and sell out fast for our barrel stuff. That thing was gone. Like, I'm talking gone in like 45 minutes. Like, it was gone. And it was really cool and it was good. And yeah, they didn't have the same volume of barrels for us this year, but we're hoping to still do it again in the future. But yeah, that was fun. So that was really cool.
Well, I know because it was one of those things that it was something that people hadn't seen, especially locally before. But it's a name. It's a name that inspires a lot of feelings for people. Whenever you hear the name Malort, people are both scared, intrigued, appalled. Like there's a lot of adjectives that you can throw around when you talk about Malort, and so it's a very fun thing to be able to throw in with the beer to draw people's attention.
Yeah, it was a visceral reaction one way or another. But yeah, it went over super well, and the team down at Jepson's really enjoyed it too, which is always cool. Like they were happy with how it turned out. Nick had a connection with their head distiller down there, and yeah, it was bourbon barrel aged Malort barrels that we got our hands on. So it's just a wildly complex and fun flavor.
A lot of tasting notes that you could, write in the description.
A lot. Yeah. There's a lot going on in those, but
Well, and one of the beers, we've talked about, some of the, whether it was season or whatever. And I know you talked a lot about your collabs. As I'm a basketball guy, like that's my sport. And so I was really excited when you guys did the AJ Green Green Light, and he just broke the franchise record for threes in a season the other night. And also had, I believe, the single game record. Like it was really, really cool when you first did, because when you did that collab, unless you were, a pretty, in tune Bucks fan, you may not know that name. And now he's obviously become much more popular citywide. What was that process like, deciding on that collab? Because obviously, when a baseball player approaches, vice versa, that obviously makes a lot of sense. But this time you were stepping into a different court per se.
Yeah, no, that's a great way of explaining it. So it was a while. It was probably about 2 years ago that somebody from his camp reached out, and I get a lot of emails that are just like not catfishing, but like, oh, would you want to do a collab with Mariano Rivera? I'm like, yeah, sure. So I sort of like briefly, I'm like, yeah, if you're interested, shoot me a Zoom link, we'll jump on. And sure as shit, like 30 seconds later, he was like, well, you free now? And I was like, yeah, I guess. And he was like, yeah, AJ lives right around the corner. Not right around the corner. He lives close enough. He's a super good dude. He actually likes baseball. He's been to your place once or twice. Do you have any interest in doing a collab? And I was like, all right, sure. Yeah, is he willing to come on site? Is he willing to talk about it a little bit? It wasn't a crazy number to do it. Just a little kickback for some sales after the fact. And he's been so cool, man. Like he's been on site, I think 4 or 5 times doing appearances. He's been a part of designing the beer. Like he likes Spotted Cow. So he's like, can you do something close to that? We said, sure, something close. So we did a cream ale. But he had full marketing authority over what the labels looked like and all that good stuff. And this is our second year doing it with him, and he's just great. So
was it something that you planned on turning into a, like you said, a multi-year thing, or was it just because it went over so well? Because I know that initial event was very well attended, I believe, with him, with his appearance and everything. And I have a close friend. So I played my D3 basketball team. We played, it was 15 minutes away from where UNI is in Cedar Falls. So like we were with UNI, and I have a good buddy who went to UNI and is obsessed with AJ Green, all things AJ Green.
That's cool. Yeah.
So like I knew about AJ Green even when he was at UNI. So then obviously when he got picked up by the Bucks, people didn't think he was going to stick with the team, being second round pick, and now he's one of the bigger names in terms of who's still sticking around. So it's really cool to see. Is this something that you're hoping to continue as long as he's here in Milwaukee?
I think as long as he wants to continue to do it, and as long as people keep showing out, we're slowly massaging the potential of a 5-serve appearance.
Yeah.
At some point, so there's all sorts of red tape up around that crap.
Yeah.
But he's just such a good dude, and he really does like genuinely enjoy. I don't want to speak for him, but I feel like he enjoys doing it because our staff is super respectful. We see him walking around the neighborhood once in a while. Nobody like runs up to him. It's like, oh, AJ,
Yeah.
I think he feels very comfortable with me and our staff, and like we're not pushing drinking to like get blacked out. It's like he gets what we're trying to do, and he likes baseball too. He's a baseball, he likes to fish. He's a huge fisherman. So like,
yeah, I'm like, listen, I guess I need to go hang out with AJ too, because
he's like my kind of guy, man. Like,
yeah, I mean,
but we were sharing stories. I was joking because I knew Northern Iowa from Ali Faroukmanesh hitting that 3 against Kansas.
Yeah.
I was in college, and he was like, "Oh, I know Ali. Like, he comes back all the time, and now he's the coach at Colorado State or something." So we just kind of clicked right off the bat, man. And I'm a huge basketball junkie, and he could tell that right away. And again, there's just a comfort level, and he's helped us, move some product, and we have a ton of fun with it. So hopefully it keeps going, but you never know.
Well, I mean, and it has been great though for however long it has been and what it will continue to be. It's been really fun, and like you said, I mean, sports. Obviously, you guys are baseball first, and you always will be. But it's fun to kind of step into these other venues for sporting, because again, like you said, I mean, we're just sport guys. We just love sports. We each have our favorite sports, but at the end of the day, we just love sports just in general.
And preaching to the choir, sister.
Yeah. And speaking of sports, we haven't talked specifically about like the tap room itself. Like we talked a lot about the wiffle ball field and kind of, the bobbleheads and moving in. But one thing I've always told people is, that are visiting, that sports fans in general, even if you're not like a big baseball guy, sports fans in general will appreciate the vibe that you guys have, because it is different. It's a unique in terms of brewery tap rooms in Milwaukee, or just even in Wisconsin, I would say, period, that you guys do kind of have that balance between, you are a brewery tap room, but it has kind of that approachable sports bar feel where you can just come and hang out. Like what was that process like when you were trying to figure out how you were going to have the tap room set up and laid out, and how you wanted the vibe to feel and all that when you were setting everything up?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, I'm not joking. Like the two passions were baseball and beer. And I've been going out, I'm 38. I've been going out for a long time. There's places you just like to go because you're comfortable. Mm-hmm. In my head, I always wanted to build this, like, not perfect, but close to perfect place where, like, I would want to go with my buddies on a Tuesday, a Thursday, a Saturday, or a Sunday. Like, it can fit any day of the week. This isn't like a Saturday only spot, or we got to go there because it's Taco Tuesday or whatever. We just wanted to be a 7-day-a-week place where you can chill. Like, you're not going to be overwhelmed with beer knowledge requirement coming into it, or anything like that. And there's nothing wrong with places that prefer dimmer lights or quieter or no TVs, or that's fine. Like,
there's a place for it.
There is, and I've been to them. Hell, I've
been to all. Yeah, trust me, I've been to all of them. So I know.
I dig it. But like for me, man, like I want 90s and 2000s on the speakers. I want sports on television. I want our Wi-Fi to be working really well. I want our light, a little dimmer. And yeah, just hang out, like chat. If you want to watch a game on MLB TV on your phone and the Olympics and the Bucks or whatever, like, this is the place to do it. We have, board games, we have pool, we got darts, we've got pull tab, pinball, you name it. Like, there's sort of something for everyone to do, and it's just a comfortable place to come hang out. And that's always what I've wanted, was just to appeal to as many people as possible, where you don't have to, like you said, you don't have to be a big baseball junkie.
Oh yeah, 100%.
You're not shoving it down your throat. But man, if you look hard enough.
Oh, if you're a baseball, I have brought, I don't know exactly how many out of state people, but I brought several different other craft beer fanatics. Yeah. And some of them are, there was one in particular who's a huge baseball fan. And I'm like, okay, like, there's other breweries that, I want to take you for, for all the things, but I'm like, we have to go here because you are going to absolutely adore us. And of course he did. He was just he was ecstatic about it. He had so much fun. He loved all the different beer names and all that. So no, you don't have to be a baseball fan. You can, just going there and hanging out. Like I said, it's a great place to go if you want to watch some sports. But if you are a baseball fan, it's going to be that much better.
I would hope so. Yeah.
I just had it click in my head too when you were talking about all the things to do in the tap room. Going back really quick to the wiffle ball field, for people listening, what is the best way to go about signing up? Because this is not, to clarify for people, you cannot just show up and go and grab a bat and start swinging.
No.
Because that would be, I'm sure you had some meetings with lawyers, maybe, or something, to figure out, okay, liability wise, we're giving people sticks and beer. We got to make sure that we got our, T's crossed and I's dotted when it comes to.
No, we knew we were okay from an insurance standpoint when Axe bars started popping up.
That's true. That's even worse.
We were good. But no, we have leagues Monday through Thursday. So like it's in use, pretty much 5 to 10 p.m. every Monday through Thursday. We rent it out on the weekends, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We have reservations pretty much booked solid. There's always room, like you can find room, but you got to do it through the website. So brokenbatbrewery.com.
Yep.
Go to the wiffle ball tab, reservations. There's a whole reservation calendar. But honestly, like if people do show up with kids or out of towners or something like that, and like, hey, can we just check out the field real quick? Our staff knows, like, I'm cool with you going out, walking it real quick, taking a look. But yeah, the liability is legitimate. So we do have waivers.
Yeah.
We do have waivers and all that stuff.
You can't have Joe. You can't have Joe and Bob. After 6 pints, going out there and whipping the ball at each
ACL like with no waiver or something. So.
And listen, I'm getting into closing in on my mid-30s here too, and I play basketball, and so I just know that the injury risk is real the older we get. So
exponentially, the graph is going straight up.
My body does not like me doing what I'm all doing now with basketball. So yeah, I totally understand that. And you mentioned brokenbatbrewing.com. Where else can people go to kind of follow Broken Bat, get information on upcoming events, beer releases, etc.?
Yeah, our socials are really good at that. So we're Broken Bat Brew on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. Our Facebook is very active. Our website, we keep that very much up to date with events and stuff too. But most of it's me or Aaron, our full time, or my wife Selena, that's running the socials. So all the goofy stuff you see out there is one of us from the small business. But we have some fun with it, man. We don't take it too seriously. We take the beer much more seriously. But the business itself, it's just everybody needs to kind of relax a little bit, have a place they feel comfortable.
100%.
And man, I hope it's at Broken Bat in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So
yeah, well, you kind of just did that, but I always like to close these with giving the guest kind of an opportunity to do like a 1 minute or whatever little elevator speech to kind of conclude. Obviously I'm always talking about breweries, but whatever it is that we're talking about, but in this case, a 1 minute kind of elevator speech on Broken Bat.
Yeah, Broken Bat. We're your neighborhood kind of corner bar type vibe. We're going to have really good beer. We do have wine, cocktails, all that stuff. We have a full bar, dog friendly. We have an amazing event space upstairs. We truly do have something for everybody within the space. Beer's never been better. We're in a great location, best staff in the city. I can say that with confidence. And just really, really proud of what Broken Bat is and represents and is operating at right now in Milwaukee. And if you're in the neighborhood, stop by, check out the card wall, grab a couple beers, and shake a bobblehead or two because they're in there.
Yeah, I was going to say you can come before. You could hit the bobblehead museum first and then come over, or I guess vice versa. But depending on how much beer you want to drink, I would probably go bobblehead museum, then Broken Bat.
Come here,
Those some of those narrow ways between the bobblehead shelves are pretty narrow. So
you don't want to be bumping into shelves.
No, they got signs up. You're not supposed to touch those.
Yeah.
But no, and I have been, obviously a fan since you guys first opened, and we were obviously traveling for a majority of this past time, but now that we're back home, it has been so fun to see you guys grow, obviously survive a lot of bumps around. We didn't even mention your what was it? The water explosion at your what happened?
The steam pipe explosion.
Yeah, that's what it was. You guys had the entire basement flooded at the old place.
We looked like a Salvador Dali painting at the end of 5 hours. Everything was just like melted over, and flooded. So that was crazy. Man, yeah. So
I'm just so thrilled that you guys have not only been able to survive all that in the pandemic, but able to now thrive and really establish your own niche in the craft beering scene, not just in Milwaukee, but I feel like in Wisconsin. So I think it's really awesome, and I know that we'll be in touch here down the road to do some more stuff because I enjoy promoting Broken Bats. Again, I mean, sports fans, it's just I can't help myself.
I know we're a special breed, man. You can't help.
I know. So yeah. So again, I appreciate you joining me tonight, Tim, and look forward to working with you some more in the future. And as always, whether it is where you are visiting or where you are living, be sure to drink local everywhere. Cheers, everybody.